David,
Yeah.
it happened. It happened. There's a break in the case.
Now again, you keep saying the case like there's only one. Which one?
The first case, David.
The Swedish jewel heist case?
The Swedish jewel heist. Swedish authorities have arrested a second suspect in connection with the theft of the Swedish crown jewels from Strängnäs Cathedral.
Now, I don't believe those eyewitnesses for a second, though. I'm sure there's a fourth, fifth, sixth group. I'm sure it was like a whole army of guys that came and took these jewels. I don't trust the eyewitnesses that say they were only two guys. But anyway, continue.
So not a whole lot is known at this point. What we do know is that a person of interest was arrested, and they are currently being interrogated. I wonder what the Swedish interrogation style is. I have a feeling it's less Jack Bauer and like more Mr. Bean. I don't know.
I imagine it's like you just had your dinner, no chocolate.
Something else that was released in connection with this story was they released the description of the two suspects that was initially given, I guess, to like local authorities. And here's how the two suspects were initially described. Right, one suspect was described as 180 centimeters tall, skinny, and was wearing a light beige jacket and dark long pants. Too descriptive for you? The second suspect was slightly shorter than 180 centimeters, heavier, had on a dark jacket, and possibly a slightly red item of clothing below the jacket. What does that mean? Pants? Does that mean shorts? Does that mean shoes? I don't know. And had dark hair or something dark on his or her head. So essentially they were looking for two humans.
Were these two guys traveling faster than the speed of sound? Is that why no one got a good look at them?
So
maybe they were on a horse, maybe they were on a jet ski, maybe they were on a boat. They don't know. They were going too fast.
My initial reaction was, wow, the Swedish police work needs some help. But the fact that they could actually catch these two individuals based on these two descriptions, I think maybe they're far more advanced than we give them credit for.
Yeah. It's not the Swedish police force that we should be worried about. It's the population. It's the civilians that need a little help there on their observation skills.
Yeah. So order is about to be restored in Sweden. The crown jewels still missing. So maybe on the black market somewhere. I don't know. Maybe these two guys are just the fall guys. They're the patsies. So we'll see. We're going to continue to follow this story like no other podcast is. Not because it's not interesting. Obviously, the numbers, our ratings bear out that this is a very interesting topic.
So I know what's going to happen with this story. Vladimir Putin is going to have his next official photograph come out, and he's going to be wearing the crown jewels.
That wouldn't surprise me. Putin.
Just Putin it out there. You can end it now. That was bad. Just end it. This is Subjectively Correct Sports, the only podcast in the known universe featuring a couple of guys talking about
sports.
Who
are up to no good.
Started making trouble in the neighborhood. I got in one little fight. My mom got scared and said,
"You're moving to Sweden with these two suspects in Bel Air."
Really good. Okay.
That was almost good.
And Swedish jewel heists. And finally getting some closure, but we're going to keep cracking that case. We're not going to crack it. Apparently the Swedish police are amazing at their jobs because they're told, hey, two guys were here, and they found them. So that's impressive.
I think the only reason they are pursuing them is because of the heat this podcast is putting on them.
I think so. We put a lot of public pressure on the government of Sweden to get the job taken care of over there, and they did. I think sending you over there put them over the top. I think you going to Sweden in the middle of this investigation, they were like, oh, Anthony Montague from Subjectively Correct Sports Podcast is here. We better step up our game. So kudos to Anthony for helping solve this case.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, click that 5-star button, and follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at dphenderson1515. I will occasionally tweet sports stuff. And you can follow Anthony at AG Montague. He used to be an egg on Twitter. Now it's the Subjectively Correct logo on Twitter, so really easy to find.
Yep, that's me. Check me out. Follow me for all my awesome insight on life.
You never tweet. No. A lot going on in sports. We talked earlier about this being one of the busiest times in sports. Now that baseball has ended, it just feels like NFL and NBA just get ratcheted up even more, and more on the NBA later. But this week in the NFL, some pretty interesting stuff happened. Would you mind if I took the floor for a second to talk about what's become one of my new favorite subjects?
No, I think the floor is apt for you. Yeah.
Thank you. So, the best 49ers quarterback of all time was betrayed by bad calls, unfortunate tipped balls, ended up being interceptions and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I guess that happened a little bit to Montana, yeah. That's
Who?
Oh, we're talking about Steve Young?
Who?
Jeff Garcia?
No, I'm talking about Nick Mullens.
What's that now?
Nick Mullens.
Oh. Mole wins?
Yeah, with an L and a W. Mullens.
Okay.
Right? So I watched that entire game. Heaven help me.
Oh
I'm
my
excited.
goodness.
Yes, I'm excited. Yes, I watched the 1-7 Giants. No, I'm sorry. The 2-7 Niners and the 1-7 Giants. I watched that entire game because it's Monday Night Football. I wanted to watch some football, and my favorite team happened to be playing with the best quarterback they've ever had. So of course I'm going to watch.
Eli Manning?
I don't like the Giants,
okay.
and Eli Manning isn't the best quarterback currently on their roster. He's not.
Yeah, well.
They're going to point to this game
I don't think a quarterback is actually their best quarterback, right? Didn't they have a play earlier in the season where it was like one of the running backs or receivers actually threw the touchdown?
Yeah, and it was the best pass they'd had all year, right? But what drives me nuts is in this very like what have you done for me lately league, we only look at the last week. They're going to see Eli Manning lead a game-winning drive, and they're going to say, "Oh, you see, he still got it. He can still do it. He's still the Eli of old." He's not. Okay? He got lucked out. He didn't get lucked out. He got bailed out in that game, and they didn't deserve to win that game. They really didn't. But anyway, can you tell I'm kind of grumpy about having to watch that entire game?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, so kudos to you for actually sticking through that one.
The Niners have a really exciting young tight end named Kittles. And it seems like in the league right now, you need a dynamic, productive, consistent tight end, and the Niners have one, and I'm really excited about that. He looks weird though. He looks like if Gordon Hayward had a really big helmet on.
So he looks like Gordon Hayward, just with a big helmet.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like a helmet that's too big for him. I'm not saying like a football helmet on. I'm saying like if you gave Gordon Hayward a football helmet, but it was like 4 sizes too big.
Like a dark helmet.
What?
From Spaceballs.
Oh, Lord helmet.
Yeah.
You give him a Lord helmet sized helmet. That's what Kittles looks like. Yeah. But he is athletic, he is fast, and he is big. He's exactly what the tight ends need to be in this day and age. So you couple that with the best quarterback the 49ers have ever seen and a good coach in Kyle Shanahan, and they're gonna be okay in a few years. They have a young running back named Breida who is showing a lot of talent. He's a little undersized, but he's got skill out of the backfield as a receiver as well. So I'm optimistic about the 49ers. Cautiously optimistic because you got to put the pieces around the best quarterback of all time. And we've seen what's happened. Oh, not in franchise history. And we've seen what happens in places like Green Bay. You got to put the pieces together.
That's, what you just said about the tight end, it kind of makes me think about, like, we all know that the quarterback is the most important position in sports, right? And in football, if you don't have a good quarterback, you don't have a good team. There's like 3 exceptions in football history where like the team winning the Super Bowl just had an amazing defense and it's a like great running game, and they had a quarterback who just didn't lose them the game.
Right, there are always outliers.
Yeah,
and we're looking at you, Joe Flacco.
But for sustained success, you need a really good quarterback. But what are the other handful of positions that are most important, I think, or I guess, to having a successful football team? I think tight end is probably an underrated position.
Yeah, in today's NFL, especially a tight end that can pass block, and run efficient, like good routes, and catch the ball. That's really what's important for a tight end these days. They have to be good all-around tight ends. They have to be able to be out there every down and be a threat every play to either be a productive blocker or receiver.
Yeah, and if you look at like the Patriots as an example, because I don't know if we have a better example of sustained success over the last decade and a half.
Alabama.
Okay, good. Yeah, counterpoint. Yeah.
Are we just talking NFL though?
You're just talking NFL right now.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Because I think in college, you can just have superior talent, right? If you have a good coach who knows how to use his talent, and you recruit well, you'll be fine. You'll have sustained success. But in the NFL, there's obviously Tom Brady. And then Gronkowski's been there for what? I mean, it seems like almost a decade at this point.
It's been a long time. I mean, he was contemplating retirement before this year, and he's been hurt. And this week against the Titans, it showed. The Patriots offense just looked a little more constipated than it normally does, right? They even tried a trick play, that trick play where they give it to someone like on a little reverse, and they try to do like a throw back to Tom Brady.
Right.
Tom Brady caught it, took like 3 steps and stumbled and fell.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad. And then like a few minutes later, the Titans did the same play, and it was like watching the old man softball team try to turn a double play, and then watching like the Braves turn a double play. It was like athletic, and it was gorgeous, and it looked good. And it was like, oh, that's what you guys are trying to do? Cute.
So yeah, 41-year-old Tom Brady actually was starting to show his age this week. But you think about the Patriots offense, especially over the last decade or so, slot receiver, another huge thing, right? But they haven't had just one. It's almost been plug and play, right? They've had Amendola, they've had Woodhead, they've had Edelman. It's Wes Welker.
That's definitely a system position for them, where like whoever you put in there is going to be productive and successful because A, scheme, and B, Tom Brady makes great decisions pre-snap, and then post-snap he gets the ball out real quick. But what's interesting is those same players that are super productive for the Patriots go elsewhere and they kind of disappear.
Yeah.
I mean,
except for Vinatieri.
Yeah, well, that's a little different.
Yeah. So if you look at the landscape of the NFL right now, NFL's kind of crazy. Do you know what 2 teams have a better record than the Patriots in the AFC?
Oh, just in the AFC?
Just in the AFC.
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs?
And who else?
The Chargers.
Those Chargers?
The LA Chargers.
The Phil Rivers Chargers?
The homeless Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were talks at the beginning of the season of like, where will this team go? Like, will anyone even invest for them to buy a stadium, right? Like, they have no fans. Most of the fans showing up to the games are rooting for the opposite team. And they started off, I think it was at one point their record was 2-2 or 3-2. No, they were 1-2. They've won 6 straight. They're now 7-2. The Patriots are 7-3. Right. So the Chargers, Philip Rivers, again, one of those quarterbacks he's been good his whole career. It just seemed like he never peaked at the right time when he had awesome teammates at the beginning of his career. But he's Melvin Gordon, right? What a pick! What a pick that was for the Chargers. He's been awesome. And yeah, it just seems like they're doing everything right and they're winning football games. They haven't lost in 7 weeks.
I think there's a weird West Coast bias. Like if your games are on the West Coast, you tend not to get as much attention. You know, especially if you have late games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's more prevalent in the NBA and Major League Baseball because you have so many games going on all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think it happens in the NFL too. There's this East Coast bias when it comes to these teams. So
yeah, and you think about the Chargers, like I said, you think about Rivers and you think about Gordon, but it's really their defense that's kept them in a lot of these games, or why the reason why they've won a lot of these games. If you look at points against, they've allowed the 4th fewest points in the AFC. So, and their point differential. We talk about that in baseball a lot. Is your point differential being a good indicator for how successful your team will be. They've got the 4th highest in the AFC. So, obviously they're doing something right. The one division that is just bad, and like you look at the point differentials there and it makes no sense, is the NFC East. So we were just talking about the Giants, right?
Yeah.
The Redskins are leading the division at 6-3. They have a point differential of 1 plus 1.
Yeah.
They've scored 1 more point than their opponents this season, but they've won 6 and lost 3. So that just means they're barely winning games and then they're getting blown out of games, right? Cowboys actually have the 2nd highest point differential in the division. They're sitting at 4-5 with a plus 10. Eagles, defending Super Bowl champions, they're 4-5 plus 15. They have the highest point differential in the conference, but they're in 3rd.
Tell the Giants point differential.
Negative 51.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
and that team beat my team.
That's an ugly division. It's our home division too, in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
But there's just not a whole lot of good football being played in that division right now.
And I'm sorry. I know we probably have Dallas fans that listen.
Yeah.
coworkers and stuff people we know here. And I'm sorry, but Jerry Jones might be the problem.
Oh no, he's definitely the problem.
He is so meddlesome, and I think he's so like.
Well, he's meddlesome, but not in the right ways, right? Like, for some reason, he's not getting rid of Jason Garrett, and Jason Garrett needs to be gotten rid of, right?
Yeah.
They need a new head coach. They need a new voice in that locker room. But for whatever, I think Jason Garrett has some photos of Jerry Jones. I'm just throwing it out there. He's got something on Jerry Jones that's kept him in this job for so long.
Well, I think this is a pretty common thing that happens to business owners and guys that run businesses, guys and women that run businesses, is they get older, there are new ways of doing things, there's new innovations that they just can't quite keep up with, but then they keep doing it the old way and they kind of get left behind. And eventually it's time for them to be let go, and it's time for someone else to step in and take over running the company, right? That happens quite a bit in business. And now we have that same thing going on with Jerry Jones, but he's not stepping down. He's hanging on to that star forever, but he needs to go. I mean, the decisions he makes with personnel is not great, and he needs to stop running football operations.
It's real tough to fire the owner.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. I think they made a good decision letting Des Bryant go, though, because 2 days into his time with the Saints, he ruptured his Achilles. So I'm not saying that would have happened if he was playing for the Cowboys, but they obviously saw something in his training and in his medical records or something that they effectively hid from the Saints that they didn't want him on their team. And then he doesn't play a single down for the Saints. So that would have been cool to see Drew Brees throwing to Des Bryant, but they didn't need him anyway. They won by like 14,000 points against whoever they played this week, the Cincinnati Bengals. So
yeah,
take that for what it's worth.
I would have liked to have seen him with Drew Brees and see if he could have gotten his career back on track. But oh well, hopefully he rehabilitates well and comes back next season. So there's 4 things we know in the NFL, and that it's the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Rams, and the Saints are good. After that, I don't really know anything else. Even the Patriots, I don't know if they're good because they have some really bad losses on their record.
Yeah, the Titans this week is one of those. It really is. And I think with Gronkowski out, that really changes their offense, and it makes it a lot more difficult for them to run the schemes they want to run. So, of course, having one of, if not your best offensive weapon out makes it really hard for you to win games consistently. But they gave up 34 points to the Titans. 34. So their offense obviously wasn't able to get it done without Gronkowski in the lineup. And now you're giving up 30-plus to the Titans, who haven't been putting up 20 against anybody. That's a problem.
Yeah, their defense is real suspect this year. Just the 3 losses they have. They lost 31-20 to the Jaguars in week 2.
That's Blake Bortles. You gave up 31. You gave up 31 to Bortles.
26-10 loss in the 3rd week to the Lions. And then this week's 34-10 loss to the Titans. And
they also gave up 31 points to the Bears in a win.
Yeah.
So that's not great.
And 6 to the Bills. 6 to the Bills.
Yeah, come on. Dude, the Bills beat the Jets down this week. Did you see that? Those 2 teams are so bad.
Yeah. There's a lot of bad teams in the NFL.
It does feel that way. It does feel like there's like a few elite teams who are real great and then a lot of bad ones. It's like the quarterback situation. They're like a few really great quarterbacks who we know these quarterbacks are really, really good. Nick Mullens, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees. And then you have this mediocre and then really bad ones. And the teams kind of mirror that too.
Yeah, it's kind of been a weird season. Maybe most seasons feel like this, but this one feels really weird. Like I really have a poor handle on which teams are good. Other than the 4 teams I said, like I don't know who's good, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think the Steelers are good. I do think they're good. They had a rough start to the year. They really come into their own.
And apparently they don't need Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, apparently not.
Who didn't report, and so he's not eligible to play at all this year.
Crazy.
You know what he just did though? He just added a year to his career, maybe more, because NFL football, like running backs, get beat up. And having a year off might do wonders for his health. Maybe.
But you have to wonder what kind of contract he's going to get. Just because if I'm another owner and I see what he did this year, right? And I've said before, I don't begrudge anyone from doing what they think is necessary to get their money. But if I'm another owner, what kind of contract do I give Le'Veon Bell? How old is he? He's almost 30 years old, right?
He's not that old, no.
Okay, well, however old he is. he sat out. His team is gonna go to the playoffs most likely, right? They could possibly compete for a Super Bowl this year. Look, they have the right trajectory, but he sits out. He continues to sit out. How old is he?
He's 26.
Number 26?
No, that's his age.
Okay. All right, 26. Yeah. Okay, 2000. Wow. Okay.
You didn't believe me? You fact checked me?
No, I just want to see when he was drafted. It feels like he's been in the league a lot longer than 5 years. So.
Because he's been really good since he got into the league. He's talented enough that any owner, if he came to you and said, "I want to play for your team in free agency," you would be a moron. You'd be Jerry Jones to not pick him up.
Yeah, but okay. But he's under contract right now, and he has he's got a decent contract. It probably doesn't reflect his value right now. But it's still really good. And the fact that he is sitting out to try and renegotiate it, if I'm a new owner, or if I'm an owner, if I give him a contract, all I can do is think I'm getting him for 1 year, right? Because if he has a good year, what are the chances that he sits out again to try and renegotiate? Right? And do I want that, right? Are running backs that important, right? And I think the Steelers are proving that maybe not. If they can just plug in someone else into the same scheme and have a successful season, why break the bank to pay a Le'Veon Bell?
Le'Veon Bell is to running backs as Julio Jones is to receivers. He's not just some whatever running back. Le'Veon Bell is a once-in-a-generation type running back who can do it all. He can run for power. He can run for speed on the outside. He can receive out of the backfield. He does everything his team needs him to do. He's young, he's healthy, and he's not getting paid what he's worth. So I think when you talk about the NFL running back, he's a cut above the running backs of the NFL. So we need to treat him differently than we treat the standard NFL running back.
But again, if I'm an owner, he's one bad hit away from his career being over. Right?
Every player is that in the NFL.
Right. And so why is the value he's bringing me so different from any other good running back that I would pay that premium and risk not being able to have a complete roster around him because I'm giving so much money to him, right? Like what's the value? I'm sure there's some statistic out there, a wins over replacement for football. But like, does it really merit that monster salary? I don't know.
I think it does. And like you said, if you really don't, if running backs are kind of a dime a dozen, like someone could step in and perform his role, why not take a chance on having a dynamic, one of the best running backs we've seen in the last 20 years in the NFL? Why not take a risk on having him on your roster if your backups can come in and do a reasonable job behind him? I think it's worth the risk to have a talent like that on your roster.
Yeah. So Le'Veon Bell, his career yards per attempt are 4.3, right? James Conner, who's his replacement this season, 4.7.
Sample size.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, in any given year, any running back can have a really good year, right? And so if you can pay, I mean, I don't know what James Conner is making. I would guess it's not a lot of money.
Probably around what I'm making.
Yeah. And so if you have, but he's not, it's not like that's an anomaly. You see that all the time. Running backs who we didn't know their names last season, they're leading the league in rushing or they're near the top, right?
But then what happens to them the next year and the year after that? They're not consistent.
Yeah,
and Le'Veon Bell gets you consistency.
You find someone else. You use that $20 million and you get yourself a really good line. And so it doesn't matter who you have in the backfield.
But the problem is the turnover is so bad on offensive lines right now in the NFL. Everyone's looking to get that offensive line. Like the Dallas Cowboys had one of the best offensive lines we've ever seen 2 years ago. And now because of players moving or getting released or being traded, whatever, that offensive line looks very different now, and it's starting to show on the Dallas Cowboys. So, I mean, you cannot bank on just getting a great offensive line, just like you can't bank on every year your replacement running backs are going to have that one season where they play above their normal level. But Le'Veon Bell has consistently showed he can play at a high elite level and be super valuable for you in the backfield. So go with what you know is going to be high quality.
Here's what I know. A guy making $14+ million a year doesn't want to play the game. And if I'm an owner, I don't want that guy on my team. Woo! That got a little heavy. But you know what's going to lighten the mood? It's David's Hot Take Minute in 15.
What?
14.
Can we just...
13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What do Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Roger Staubach, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, and Rich Gannon all have in common?
Gannon the Cannon?
It's one and the same. They all lost. Nick Mullens will be fine, everyone. He is still the best Niners QB ever. They all lose. The Packers do everything in their power to negate the best quarterback ever. Even with all that going on, they beat the Dolphins 31-12. Chris Paul versus NBA refs is one of the most interesting matchups you will see all NBA season. Chris Paul goes out of his way to bother the refs when he's mad at them, like dropping the ball like 20 feet away instead of rolling it to him or something like that. It's hilarious. Rajon Rondo has been trying to get an opposing player to give him a high five after they shoot a free throw all season. He finally got one this week. That's the most success he'll have in a Lakers uniform.
Oh.
Yeah. The NFL is getting more and more exciting. Teams can celebrate now. Wait, they penalized the best celebrations from the last 2 weeks? What the heck, NFL? You need to be in or out on these celebrations. Stop messing with my head. Carmelo Anthony just outplayed everyone. He got paid, not on the court, off the court. Very important distinction. Carmelo Anthony just outplayed everyone off the court. He got paid to go to a team, be awful, get released, and then signed by another team who will give him another contract, aka more money. I feel comfortable saying it's no longer about basketball for Melo. Melo-Drama. Yeah. I also feel comfortable saying I was so right about Melo. So much standing around, so little helping.
There you go. There's David's Hot Take Minute. Okay, wait. I have a couple things. I have a couple follow-ups to your Hot Take Minute.
Okay, we don't normally do this. I usually like to let the art stand on its own.
Yeah.
But okay, I'll take an exception and answer questions.
Okay, so...
Need me to pull it up again? Okay.
Yeah, pull it up. Okay. So your rationale for the fact that Nick Mullens will be a good quarterback.
No, he's already the best Niners quarterback ever. I thought we've already talked about that for the last 2 weeks. I feel like you don't listen.
Your argument that everything will be fine is that everyone else who's also a good quarterback has also lost. So this is just okay. Everything will be fine because he's losing just like all the other good quarterbacks have lost.
Yes.
Strong point. Okay. And yeah, you had a lot of NBA drama in your Hot Take Minute.
A lot of Melo-Drama.
A lot of Melo-Drama.
I'm proud of that one. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm really proud of that line.
Yeah.
I wrote it myself.
Congratulations.
I did even read it on Twitter. I didn't go to the Pinterest of podcasters. So,
you know, the NBA, from a pure basketball standpoint, like the competitiveness of the NBA, it's hard to get too excited about it this early in the season.
Yeah.
But it's super easy to get excited about the drama in the NBA because it is non-stop. And some interesting things happened in the NBA this week. So Jimmy Butler finally got released from his current situation. He got traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Trust the process.
The process seems to be working. They had to give up some good pieces: Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and other people.
And I think a draft pick. I think.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me about this Butler situation is there were better offers on the table, and it just seems like Tom Thibodeau dropped the ball.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I kind of get why he maybe didn't want to trade him to Houston. There were reportedly 4 number 1 picks on the table for Butler from Houston. Now you have to factor in what number, like those are probably going to be in the 20s, and what other restrictions did Morey have on those picks.
But I think you don't look at those picks like they're going to be draft picks for you. You do what Danny Ainge did in Boston, and you leverage those picks into good players like Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. I guess Hayward came over. Hayward had a stroke halfway through the word Hayward. Hayward came in over free agency, but a lot of the things that they picked up were through trading those draft picks and things like that. Those assets carried a lot of weight in the NBA, and you don't necessarily have to make the picks with them. So I think it was ridiculous to not take those 4 first-round draft picks.
Something about Thibodeau, it always seems to me like he's in win now mode. Like he's always pushing his players beyond like what's necessary.
Right, like Jimmy Butler was supposed to be on a minutes restriction, and he played like 10 minutes over that minutes restriction, which in the NBA is like 1/5 of the game. So he played 1/5 of a game over his limit minutes restriction.
Yeah, and so I think while four number one picks would be super enticing to most NBA GMs who have young teams or are rebuilding, I think Tibbs still thinks like his team is competitive, and so why not get some guys who can play right now and help this season? I'm not saying it's the right call. I'm trying to get into his mind, and I think that.
You want me to help set the tone for that? Ready?
Sure.
Defense.
I don't know why more players don't want to play for him.
I need a drink.
So that the Minnesota side of it is interesting with Tibbs, and I don't know. I feel bad for these players going over to the Timberwolves, but I'm actually more interested in the Philadelphia side because now you have a three-headed monster with Joel Embiid, the best center in the NBA, not named Anthony Davis, and maybe just the best center in the NBA. I mean, he's been awesome. Ben Simmons, awesome. He's going to win his second Rookie of the Year award 2 years in a row. And now Jimmy Butler, who is good on both sides of the court.
And that's the key with him. A great two-way player, which I feel like is something that the 76ers needed. Not desperately, but they needed to take it to that next level.
Yeah, so with him and Ben Simmons on the wing defending, they're going to have a great team defensively. At least three great defenders. We'll see what kind of team they put around. They still have Markelle Fultz, who is not just forgotten how to shoot. It's like he forgot how to shoot and then went to the Charles Barkley golf swing of shooting.
I was going to say that. I was going to say it's the Charles Barkley golf swing of basketball shooting.
There's a video of him taking a free throw from a couple days ago against the Miami Heat, and he pump fakes on his free throw, and it's not to get people into the lane. It's just,
which is not legal, by the way.
Right? He has a really weird shooting mechanic now, and it's like he's scared to shoot the ball.
Did you hear what he said happened?
No.
He said the ball slipped.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make you want to pat him on the head?
I really do feel bad for him because he was amazing in college.
Yeah.
Like, he was the clear number one pick. No one... When Philadelphia traded the number 3 pick and future picks for the right to draft him, no one said that's a bad trade for Philadelphia.
No one.
Right? Even though the Celtics got Jason Tatum and they have a decent draft pick this year because of it.
Danny Ainge.
Yeah.
The anti-Thibodeau.
So I don't know. I don't want to give the Celtics that much credit that they knew like he was going to be a bad player. I think they just were sold on Tatum. I think they knew that Tatum would be special.
And maybe they just needed that position, right?
Maybe.
So, whatever.
But regardless, everyone knew that Fultz was the right pick at number 1. And so you can't blame the 76ers for picking him. But it's just, I mean, it's looking like bust. We're like in bust land right now. I don't know. It's weird. And so, but if he ever regains anything close to his college form, that's a really good core group of guys. If they can get Butler to re-sign, which it sounds like he's amenable to, they've got a really bright future, especially in the talent depleted East.
Right. And so now you look at the East, and the East really is 3 teams right now. It's the Raptors, it's the Sixers,
Raptor, doing what I can to the appearance of man.
Thank you. That just
yeah.
Give yourself a little train of thought toot because mine is gone.
I was talking about Mrs. Doubtfire for our loyal listener.
So 3 teams.
Really good movie from
Raptors.
Like 94 or something like that.
Now I'm thinking of Jurassic Park. Dang. Okay. Raptors, Celtics, and 76ers. Now the Milwaukee Bucks are kind of like the upstart on the block, right? They will be good for years because Giannis Antetokounmpo can start his gather from the half court line and dunk it like Space Jam. He's like real life Space Jam. Like you watch some of his dunks and it looks like real life Space Jam. where the arm stretches, and he dunks it. Well, he doesn't really dunk it. He releases it up high.
Yeah, it's the greatest non-dunk of all time.
Yeah. Well, no, JaVale McGee.
Because he misses his dunks?
Oh, but when he misses the right way.
Yeah. The other team we're not talking about is the Pacers, and I don't know if they're going to go far in the playoffs at all, but they got a really young, exciting, good team. So.
Oladipo has come into his own in Indiana. It's been fun to see that because I liked him as a player when he was with the Magic, and then when he went somewhere else, I think he played for a really sad year with the Thunder and just got overshadowed by that tornado named Russell Westbrook, which tends to happen to everybody.
Yeah.
But I like Oladipo a lot.
But really, all of the important action in the NBA, as it has been for the last decade, sans LeBron James, is in the West, right? The greatest basketball is always taking place in the West. And for this part of the season, the greatest drama in the NBA is happening out West. So we touched on the Melo-Drama. Who knows where he's going to go? I mean, I'm hearing reports now that I'm on the ground hearing reports.
I was going to say.
I'm reading other people's Twitter.
That sounds better. That sounds more like what's actually happening.
There's no thoughts of releasing Melo. Melo's gonna stay. Chris Paul said no. He's great for our team. So who knows?
Chris Paul said that?
Yeah.
I don't trust anything he says from now on. I'm going to leave State Farm now because of that.
I think he's contractually obligated as the president of the Players Association to say every NBA player is great for their team.
Well, the Banana Boat Crew.
Yeah.
The banana they ride or die with the Banana Boat Crew, man. Him, Wade, LeBron, and Melo.
I've seen a few tweets, memes about him going to LA, the Lakers. No, please stop. There's no one he could take minutes from that I'd be happy about. So please no. Rob Pelinka, Magic Johnson, no. It's a no on Melo. I don't care what LeBron says. Speaking of LeBron, Lakers update. So right now, they finally have a winning record. First time this year they have a winning record. Their schedule is actually pretty easy over the next couple weeks, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them actually pad this winning record a little bit. They started off against 6 or 7 playoff teams and didn't fare well as they were kind of figuring things out. It seems like, especially since they got Tyson Chandler, they've been 3-0 since they got him, so they actually have a backup center now, because that was the big thing, is that they'd go out. Often you'd see they'd have a lead, and they just, as soon as the second unit came in, the defense it went to shambles, and so they
especially the rim protection, right? Like the perimeter defense wouldn't be as bad, but the rim protection was just non-existent.
Yeah, when you have Kyle Kuzma as your backup five, Kuzma is a lot of things, but he is not a defensive center. Okay, he's a dynamic scorer from the wing or post, but in defense, he has a lot of energy, and he'll make plays from time to time. But he's not good on man-to-man defense. He's a little slow reaction-wise. And so he's just not the guy you want anchoring your defense. And so having someone tried, tested, even a 36-year-old Tyson Chandler is an upgrade over any other option they had on the roster.
Well, I remember at the beginning of the year, Luke Walton said LeBron James was going to play some 5 this year. And I was like, that's fine in spots. Like if they don't have a big man.
Fine for the playoffs. But you don't want to do that all. You don't want to do that for 82 games.
No, absolutely not. And speaking of LeBron, he's shown some frustration, which is unlike him to show public frustration.
It's tough to getting used to, living in Southern California with the awesome weather near the beaches and going to celebrity parties. So I fully understand his frustration with that. Yeah.
Right. I was thinking more like playing with Rajon Rondo.
Oh.
And who's the other knucklehead that I'm blanking on
Lance
now?
Stevenson.
Lance Stevenson.
Michael Beasley, take your pick.
Yeah.
JaVale McGee.
That's the thing. There's so many. I was like knucklehead overload. It's like, I imagine like Charles Barkley trying to say knucklehead over and over again, but like not being knucklehead.
Yeah, I think everyone knew that this
knucklehead.
Everyone knew that this assembly of talent, if you and that's in air quotes,
knuckleheads.
It was going to take some time to find some kind of rhythm, some kind of rotation.
Yes, but is this the most difficult thing LeBron has been asked to do? Be patient for 2 years, build, and then be the veteran leader and the most talented player on your team and lead a team to a title. Because that's what LA is all about. LA is all about getting back to winning titles. They're not interested in being a decent team again. The team of Kobe, the team of Shaq, the team of Magic and Kareem, that's a team that wants to win championships. Mm-hmm. Is this the most difficult thing LeBron has ever done, especially with that giant Golden State Warriors obstacle in front of them every single year? Is this the most difficult thing LeBron has ever done in his career?
Yeah, I think if you were taking bets right now on whether or not he'll win a championship in LA, you'd have to bet no. I think odds are he won't, even though that's what I want to happen.
The universe doesn't care that you want them to win, by the way.
Obviously not, based on the last two baseball World Series. But yeah, this is hard for him. He's never really had to lead. Not that he hasn't had to lead a young team. He's done that before, but with the expectation that if you don't win a championship at some time over the next 4 years, it's a failure. I don't think he's had that expectation. There was that expectation in Miami for sure, but he had two other All-Stars, two other MVP quality players with him in their prime.
Two other Hall of Famers.
In their prime.
Dwayne Wade was an NBA champion who was a Hall of Famer, and he was he wasn't reluctant to give up the top player in the organization. Mm-hmm. He was totally willing to take that mantle and pass it on to LeBron James, and he was totally willing to do that, and he was so welcoming to that, and it got him a couple of championships. This is a very, very different situation, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Cleveland, when he went back that second time, he had Kyrie, and he had Kevin Love, and he had talent around him, and I don't know. I think right now this is more difficult for him because he's tasted winning. It's not like his first few years in Cleveland where he was the only thing going in that entire town, in that entire state,
in that entire conference, right? I mean, it's rare that he's been on a team that you haven't penciled into the finals, right? The first stint with Cleveland, most of those years you didn't, right? Maybe the last couple of years he was there, you did, but. This is a change from the last 9 years, right? He's on a team that some people don't expect to make the playoffs. So yeah, I think having such sustained success for so long, it would be very difficult to take that big a step back and to kind of change your mindset that it's not win or bust right now, right? It's develop, right? Because I think the best thing, the most important thing he can do this year is to build confidence in the young guys, because either they will improve dramatically and they'll be his, second, third best player on the team, or they'll improve to the point where they can be good trade bait, right? So, I mean, either way, whether these players are with him or not, I think the most important thing he can do is increase their value.
And I struggle with the idea of this vet trying to come in and teach them like mental whatever it is or confidence or something like that. I think LeBron's job is to teach them basketball. His job is to teach them the way to play, the way to train, the way to prepare, those types of things. And I think all that mental fortitude stuff or that confidence, that'll all come from within. And I think that preparedness that LeBron brings, how to study the game, how to practice, how to take care of your body, that kind of stuff, those are the kind of things that he can bring to those young guys that will then bring confidence. Yeah,
no, I think the basketball skills are one for sure. That's the most important thing, is to help them develop in that sense.
So there are two more things I want to mention before we move on to another very interesting NBA happening over this last week. First is that LeBron's old team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, are a hot stinking mess of garbage, and they're 2-11 right now, and they're last place in the East. And I think this is probably the first time we've ever been able to say this ever. The Sacramento Kings have a better record than a LeBron James team. I'm going to let that sink in.
I would say let's look at the schedule. I think the Kings' schedule is going to get much more difficult, and the Lakers' schedule is going to get much easier.
That doesn't take away the fact that the Sacramento Kings right now are in the playoffs, and the Lakers are not.
All right, and real quick before we wrap up NBA talk, all is not well in the Bay Area. Something stinks in the land of Curry.
I see what you did there, but I don't love it.
Yeah. Oh, something's rotten in the land, right? Something's rotten in the land of Denmark. Something stinks. Shakespeare? That Hamlet bill. Or is it Macbeth?
I'm sorry, who? Hamlet?
Yeah.
What's that?
I think it's like a little piece of bacon.
Yeah, I thought a hamlet was like a small town.
Never
like
heard
a
of it.
pig farming town. It's a hamlet
Yeah.
because it's a small town that farms pigs.
So,
Hamlet. The character from Toy Story. Found it.
there you go.
That's what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat
Hamlet.
bar.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't rehearse that.
Mm-mm.
Maybe we should have.
Maybe we should rehearse just in general.
This is the second week it's come up, and I'm still not going to rehearse anything.
So the Warriors were playing the Clippers the other night.
They were.
And Clippers missed a shot with about 4 seconds left. Draymond Green rebounds, dribbles up the court.
The score is tied.
It's tied score.
J.R. Smith wouldn't have remembered that.
And KD is clapping for the ball. Klay Thompson is kind of open. But Draymond, instead of passing to two of the best shooters in the NBA,
Leroy Jenkins
decides to dribble through 3 Clipper defenders and loses the ball as time expires. And so you could see on the court that KD and Klay were very upset. They were, throwing their hands up, jawing at Draymond. But then overtime ensues, and Warriors, even without Steph Curry, who didn't play, they should have won in regulation. They should have won in overtime. They ended up losing. And so everyone, we kind of make fun of Draymond. Oh, what a boneheaded play. Like, what was he thinking? But then some reports come out of what happened in the locker room. Apparently, the fighting that was happening on the court between KD and Green extended to the locker room. They were upset at each other. KD and several other Warriors were getting after Draymond for not passing the ball. And Draymond apparently did not play the role of peacekeeper.
Does he ever?
He did not de-escalate the situation.
He's an escalator. Like, he's the one that goes out of his way to kick opposing players in the junk. He's not going to be the one that's like, oh, you know what, fellas? You're right. And I'm sorry.
And so apparently one of his talking points was alluding to Kevin Durant's impending free agency. And maybe like, something along the lines of, why don't you just go to the Knicks already? Or something like that, right? And we don't know exactly what was said. But anyways, lots of swearing, lots of salty language, lots of hurt feelings, lots of drama, because that's what the NBA is in November.
A lot of melodrama.
And so there were reports of that, and we're all thinking, oh, wow, fighting. Like, that's not super atypical in a sports locker room.
No, any high competitive environment, anytime you have an ultra high competitive environment at the highest levels of whatever job field you're in, you're going to have arguments, things are going to get heated.
Yeah, and if that's all that came out of it, was that there were reports of them fighting, it would have been a Twitter story for a day or so until the next Warriors game, maybe. But the Warriors did something that will keep it in the headlines for a while, and something we'll be thinking about and talking about for the rest of the season. Not only did they decide to sit Draymond for their next game, they actually suspended him.
Without pay.
Yeah, because of the suspension, he doesn't get paid, and that's not a small chunk of change.
Would you like to know how much?
Sure.
It's basically a small house. $120,000.
Wow. So, because they did that, like, they have now taken a side, right? The Warriors organization has sided with KD over their former defensive player of the year, the quote-unquote heart and soul of their team, right? Their defensive anchor, Draymond Green. Their born and bred Draymond Green over the guy who came over just 2 seasons ago. And so this now becomes a major story, in my opinion. And whether or not this leads to Durant's leaving the Warriors, Green's leaving the Warriors, because he's got one more year left on his deal.
Well, he feels like the odd man out here. Steph's getting all this attention. Klay's getting all this attention for breaking records and stuff. He's still under contract. Durant's getting all this attention. And so Draymond, I'm sure, feels very left out. And he's like, well, look what I've done for you. Look what I've done for the city. You don't get these championships without me, probably.
Yeah.
Even before Kevin Durant gets here, you don't get these championships without me. And so you're going to side with him? So I'm sure he's really upset by all this. I would love to be a fly on the wall right now in the locker room.
And this is just going to lead to tons of intrigue and drama this summer because KD and Klay are free agents. And so you would assume the Warriors would give them whatever they wanted, which will probably be 2 max contracts. That, on top of what Curry makes, they're not going to have that much money left to sign Draymond Green after next season. And so this summer, we'll see where their loyalties really lie and what their plans are for Draymond.
My question is, what team has Draymond Green not kicked in the junk that will sign him?
Also, this all could have been avoided. Steve Kerr, call a timeout. You got 4 seconds left, right? You got Draymond dribbling down the court. Call a timeout.
Okay, you didn't see this, but things are about to get real serious for Anthony's Fantastic 5 headlines. He just loosened his belt. It's about to get real. You ready, Anthony?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Belt's good and loosened. You need to go down another loop? You good?
It cannot be any more loose. Oh,
That got weird.
okay.
All right, Anthony's Fantastic 5 headlines. Go.
3 new inductees into the Toy Hall of Fame.
Hey, happy news.
Yeah, hey, first of all, did you know there was a Toy Hall of Fame?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not.
Yeah. It's a very exclusive group. There's only something like 70 or so toys that have been inducted.
Well, are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that exclusive.
The ball was not inducted until 9 years ago. All right. So this is a very exclusive group.
I need to know who was in before the ball.
I unfortunately do not have that information, but I'm going to give you the 12 finalists. I want you to tell me which 3 made it into the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
okay?
This will be fun. Hit me with it.
Okay. Tickle Me Elmo.
Okay.
Number 1.
All right.
Number 2, Shoots and Ladders.
Okay.
Number 3, Masters of the Universe action figures, so like He-Man. Number 4, Fisher-Price Corn Popper. This is the lawnmower type thing. You roll it and it pops and the balls explode. All right. Tudor Electric Football. So this is like the game from the 1960s where you move the football players along this.
Never got this thing. Never got it. The thing vibrates and they move. You don't know what they're going to do. I never got that. Anyway.
Chalk.
Oh.
Chalk.
Just chalk.
Yeah, white chalk. Yep. American Girls dolls.
Oh, okay.
The sled.
Rosebud.
As in the slide on snow sled. Whoa, that's a hard sentence.
Say it again.
Slide on snow sled.
Yeah, the slide on snow sled.
Whew. Uno.
Dos.
Magic 8 Ball. And a couple more. Pinball.
Okay.
Tic-tac-toe.
Is that a toy?
They include games as well.
Okay.
And that's it. Okay, and so let me give you the criteria.
Please.
Okay, so the Toy Hall of Fame has 4 criteria. Icon status, which they define as the toy is widely recognized, respected, and remembered. Longevity, the toy is more than a passing fad and has enjoyed popularity over multiple generations. Discovery, the toy fosters learning, creativity, or discovery through play. And last, and most important perhaps, innovation. The toy profoundly changed play or toy design. A toy may be inducted on the basis of this criterion alone without necessarily having met all of the first 3.
And the ball didn't make it till 9 years ago?
Okay, David. So of those 12 we talked about, what are your 3?
Okay, my 3 guesses as to what they inducted into the Hall of Fame are the ones I would want to be in the Hall of Fame.
I don't care.
Okay, really thought this through. I appreciate that. Okay, I think Tickle Me Elmo changed the world and creeped people out. The American Girls dolls and pinball.
You were 1 for 3.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. Your 3 inductees this year are pinball.
Oh, got it. Nice.
Magic 8 Ball.
Eh.
And Uno.
Yeah, not thrilled with their selection.
The sled. The poor piece of wood sled.
Rosebud.
Rosebud.
It's Citizen Kane.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
It's a film, Anthony. I can't even call it a movie. It's classic literature. It's a film.
Fantastic headline number 2. U-Haul truck hoisted out of empty Las Vegas pool.
Yeah, Vegas.
It's either Vegas
or Florida.
Or Florida.
Yeah.
And sometimes Texas. Right? Okay, so this was funny. The guy was driving a U-Haul into his... the entrance to his garage was through his backyard. Like a gate in his backyard. there was also a pool in his backyard. Okay, so he opens the gate, and the driveway kind of is near the pool, and he said he was having trouble getting over the curb, and someone said hit the gas, so he hits the gas, and there's the story, his shoelace got caught in the accelerator, the gas pedal, and he couldn't lift up his foot from the gas pedal, and so he drove straight into the pool. And so there's a video on Facebook of them lifting this U-Haul truck out of the pool. Apparently it cost $3,000 just to get it out of the pool. But good on this guy, he bought the insurance. And apparently U-Haul said they're going to cover it.
Nice. Moral of this story, when someone tells you to do something in Vegas, don't do it.
Fantastic headline number 3. Drone's high-tech bike theft attempt caught on camera. Okay, this is a video you have to see to believe. There's some guys, they ride their bikes and they're like hiking. They're actually going up some stairs, and I think they've got like GoPros or something on. And all of a sudden they turn towards their bicycles, which they left at the bottom of this like really big staircase. And there's a drone flying over one of the bikes, and it's got something hanging from it. This drone, okay? And all of a sudden it like attaches to the bike. We're not sure if it's a magnet or a claw, but it's like the bike is all of a sudden just like pegged to whatever's hanging from this drone, and the drone lifts up and starts flying away with the bike. The guy starts running down the stairs to try and catch his bike. He throws his helmet at it, and nothing. The video cuts out, and we don't get any kind of resolution. So
that's apropos for this podcast, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm afraid this is going to lead to a whole new category of crime: drone theft. Like, you've got cameras on drone, you stick a heavy enough magnet, and you have a strong enough drone, you can steal some pretty significant things. I mean, you get an army of drones, and you can steal cars.
So, is this like... The Han Solo movie did this. They're basically doing what the Han Solo movie did in the train, where they take the train and they cut pieces off it and they like maglev it out of there.
It's exactly that.
Oh my gosh, in real life?
Yes, life imitating art.
Yeah, that checks out. I have to see this video now.
Okay. Fantastic headline number 4. What's in a number? Dutchman, 69, seeks age change to 49.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous. This is just... No. Your age isn't something you choose. Like, my wife tells me all the time, inside, I'm 14. Okay? And I know that's not a compliment, but I turn it into one every time. I'm young at heart, sweetheart. But no, you were born a certain year. You can't change when you were born. Come off it, guy.
Yeah, so this Dutch man, citing concerns about age discrimination and his ability to meet the fairer sex on online apps, he's appealing to a Dutch court to allow him to legally change his age from 69 to 49.
So basically, he wants to be able to lie about his age to get women.
Yeah, he says, I have the body and the mind of a 40-something-year-old.
Sure, guy.
Why can't I reflect that legally?
The science checks out. I feel 49.
Yeah.
So I am 49.
Yeah. Can you imagine if that worked? Like, if that were actually upheld?
Oh yeah, like when we go to the movie tomorrow, I'm gonna be 65.
Yeah.
I identify as a 65-year-old. Give me that discount. Popcorn for free for seniors? Yes, please.
Fantastic headline number 5, and perhaps one of my favorite headlines since the inception of this podcast. Dead man turns up 2 months after burial.
Is this like a member of The Walking Dead? Is this like a member of The Grateful Dead?
This is a man from Kazakhstan. So, I don't know if this is like something that happens frequently in Kazakhstan, but the story is that, and I'm gonna try to pronounce this guy's names, Igali Subigayev. That was just bad. Let's just call him
Igali Subigayev.
Let's call him Igali. So Igali, who according to friends was prone to wander for a week or two, whatever that means. He all of a sudden disappeared for like 4 months. He went out to like the market and just never came back. And, concerned family and friends looked for him. A body was eventually found. I don't know what condition this body was in. Oh, it says badly burned. Okay, so I guess burned beyond recognition. But they had his DNA, the body's DNA tested, and it came back with 99.2% certainty that it was a galley. So, family and friends mourned. The authorities issued a death certificate. They buried this body, and, they thought they had lost their poor Igali. Until 2 months later, he walks through the door. So the story was that one morning he left, went to the market, got approached by someone about a job, took the job in a nearby village, worked there for like 4 months, and when the job was done, he walked home, as you do, right? So here's my story, or here's my question from the story. Who did they bury? Who was that person? Are there just like burned bodies in Kazakhstan? Are there just dead lining the streets in Kazakhstan? Are there no other reports of like someone missing? The DNA analyst said that she stood by her 99.2% finding, but also said you must never forget that other 0.8%.
Because that 0.8% might be another burnt body.
So
I'm flabbergasted by the story.
The last paragraph of the story, though, really got to me. It said, the Supy guy leaves, the family's name, whatever that family name, who had paid for a tombstone, commissioned a stone shrine over the grave in the Kazakh tradition, and even returned pension payments for the 2 months that Igali was dead, are considering legal action.
Against whom?
I don't know. That's the thing, like, instead of being, like, overjoyed that their lost Igali came home, they're like, what? You were supposed to be dead. We sue. And you can't make this up. Those are your 5 fantastic headlines of the week.
My goodness. Oh, Europe is the Florida of the world. Okay, so I wanted to get into college football for just 2 seconds. Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan. That's your top 4 in that order. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because it's the exact same top 4 as last week. Big surprise.
Yeah.
Shocker.
The 2 games to watch for the last 3 weeks of the season. 1, Alabama, Georgia, when they play in the SEC Championship. Georgia's currently ranked 5. If the 5th ranked team beats the number 1 ranked team, it's hard for me to find a good argument to keep them out. But that would mean that either Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, or Michigan do not make it.
Alabama will be in. They could lose the next 4 games and they'd be in.
Clemson doesn't really have a hard game left on its schedule. Notre Dame, I think they play USC, who has not been great this year.
Yeah.
I don't think really any other challenges. Michigan, they do play Ohio State. One they could lose, but I like the way they're playing. So if these teams win out, that's your 4. If Georgia wins or Ohio State wins, someone else could sneak in. We'll see.
That's all I got on college football. Real quick, let's go over the MLB awards because the MLB awards just came out. So your MVP candidates for the AL are Trout, Betts, and Ramirez. Okay, in the NL, you have Javi Baez, Arenado, and Yelich. I think we can all agree that Yelich is probably going to run away with that. He almost won the Triple Crown, and he performed pretty well in the playoffs. I think he'll win. I think he did okay. Yeah. I think he'll win the MVP there. For the Cy Young Award in the AL, you have Kluber, Verlander, and some guy named Snell. In the NL, you have DeGrom, who like is the only good thing coming out of Mets baseball right now. That and Tim Tebow, who might start in AAA. We talked about that last week. Max Scherzer, who had a heck of a season for the Nationals, and Aaron Nola. Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I think your winners are Mookie Betts, Christian Yelich. I'm gonna go with Kluber and then DeGrom, but we'll see. Rookies of the Year. Shohei Ohtani won the American League Rookie of the Year award. Braves outfielder Ronald Acuna Jr. won the National League Rookie of the Year award. And who cares about the other stuff?
AL Manager of the Year, I think Alex Cora should have won that. First year manager taking that team to the victory they did. He should have won that. And I know the manager of the year kind of goes to the manager who takes their team from a low expected win total to a high expected win total. But the job that Alex Cora did with the Red Sox all year, and especially in the postseason, he deserves a lot more credit than not being the AL Manager of the Year award, if you ask me.
Yeah, one of the hardest things to do in sports is to maintain success, to sustain success throughout the course of a season. And they started hot and they kept it up. So, yeah, I agree with that. So, some sad news to end the show, but I think we can all be happy with the long life that he had. Stan Lee, creator of many comic book superheroes, passed away this week. And so I just wanted to talk quickly about my favorite Stan Lee characters. My favorite Marvel character who's actually not a Stan Lee character is Wolverine. Love Wolverine. But my favorite Stan Lee character, and he had a number of awesome characters that he created. He created Iron Man, Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, the Thing. Anyways, I think I'd probably go with the Hulk in terms of Stan Lee created characters. I just love the duality of that superhero, the Bruce Banner and the Hulk. So yeah, probably mine. David, what's your favorite Stan Lee character?
I mean, there are so many good ones, but I definitely have to go with Shocker.
That's a shocker. Shocker. Wow. Can you tell us more about Shocker?
No, we were supposed to end the show on me saying some random unknown superhero that he invented. That would have been a really funny way to end it.
Excelsior!